Privacy and confidentiality, a public trust. There are three main requirements of the VITA program. Staff and volunteers must keep confidential the information provided for tax return preparation. Staff and volunteers must protect physical and electronic data gathered for tax return preparation. Programs using or disclosing taxpayer data for purposes other than current, prior, or subsequent year tax preparation must secure the taxpayer's consent to use or disclose their data. Privacy and confidentiality basics. Keep your conversation volumes low. In other words, if you have a client who is filing for homestead as an example and pays $600 a month rent without utilities included, which comes to $7,200 a year, but is only claiming $10,000 of income, you may need guidance as to how to handle that return. What you don't want to do is yell across the room, "Hey, Diana, this guy only makes $10,000 a year but pays $7,200 in rent, and that's without his utilities. Does that seem right to you?" A better way to handle something like that would be to quietly signal to Diana as the site coordinator to come to your area because you have a question. Minimize others' ability to see your computer screen. When doing intake or contacting the taxpayer, only ask for information that is necessary and relevant. Don't ask them who they are going to vote for or what they think about global warming. Those questions are not necessary to prepare their taxes and are frankly none of your business. Always log off of TaxSlayer when you have finished your volunteer shift. Don't share information with anyone that doesn't have a need to know. Don't leave taxpayer materials unattended. Leaving their materials unattended does not mean if you have a question for your site coordinator that you gather up all their information and take it with you to talk to them. What it does mean is you should not leave your workstation unless another volunteer or the site coordinator is available to monitor the information. And don't ever share your TaxSlayer password with anyone. Use and disclosure of taxpayer information. The tax return data helps us tell our story. We don't need authorization to share, as an example, 864 households served, 263 taxpayers claimed the earned income credit, 267 taxpayers claimed homestead credit. We do need authorization to share more than $1.3 million in refunds, nearly $410,000 in earned income credits, more than $135,000 in homestead credit. Unless authorized by law, we cannot use tax return information for purposes other than the preparation and filing of the tax return without these consents. In other words, we need permission to put their anonymous information in advertising or funding materials. They do not have to provide us consent to use in order to have their taxes prepared at one of our sites. The use of tax return information allows CAP services to include information from the tax return in a computer file. We use only non-identifying information in such a file. Disclosure of tax information allows CAP services to include information from your tax return in an anonymous aggregate reports describing the impact of the VITA program. We need both the use and the disclosure to be able to add their information to our totals for advertising or funding materials. The consent for global carry forward. This disclosure essentially means that if the taxpayer gives consent, the tax return information will be available to any volunteer site participating in the IRS's VITA/TCE program that is selected by them to prepare a return the next year. This may be helpful if they intend on moving to a different area. If not, there is no need for them to consent to this. As a CAP Services volunteer, you have the option for free tax filing for you, your friends, and your family. If you are a tax preparer, be mindful of your knowledge level. These returns will not have a quality review done. The site coordinator will not look at the return itself. It is up to the tax preparer to be sure you have prepared a correct return. If you are an intake specialist, contact your site coordinator for the procedure to have a tax preparer from that site prepare your return on your behalf. You will still be responsible for the final return. Be sure to do a careful inspection of the return before signing the Form 8879. 40% of taxpayers in America could not cover a $400 unexpected expense. CAP Services has been on the front line of the war on poverty since 1966. At our VITA sites, we encourage saving a part of a tax refund, recommending our clients take advantage of splitting their refund to save a portion. The annual federal tax refund is the largest sum of cash many American households receive all year, often amounting to 20% of their annual household income. Tax time is also a moment when filers are primed to be thinking about their financial decisions. This is the Form 8888 used by the IRS to split the refund. You need to remember whatever account you list first is the account where the state refund will be deposited. Be sure to correctly check the checking or the savings boxes. Sometimes credit unions use the same account numbers for both savings and checking. The taxpayer, or in some cases the site coordinator, needs to contact the credit union to ask for a distinct second account for the savings. Part 2 of this form deals with savings bonds. Let's look at the different ways to purchase a savings bond. You can purchase it for yourself, you can purchase it payable on death to someone else, or you can purchase it for someone else. Part 3 needs to be completed if they desire a paper check. We do need to remind them that paper checks will take longer to arrive at their home.